Good morning, Madhav.
Yeah, hi, morning, Rashna. Just give me 2-3 minutes at this.
Sure.
गुड मॉर्निंग अनुराग जी, मैं आपको कॉल कर रहा था जो घंटी बज रही है आपकी.
Morning.
Nice to see you after such a long time.
Yeah, so
Great to, yes, this is an opportunity.
Same here.
Thank you Sachin for joining. Sachin जी से तो हमने डिस्कस कर लिया. So just as we are about to start, Anurag ji, I was just thinking because I discussed personally with Mr. Sachin and Mr. Madhav. So we'll go for 5 to 7 minutes just to speak on the, it's whether you call it a question or whether you call it a kind of, just I'll instigate you to speak on that particular area, what we would like to. Are you able to hear me, Anurag ji?
Yeah, Professor. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Very good. So, Mr. Pathak, we were expecting you a little late, but you.
Yeah, I'll be late. I just came to say hello to you because my meeting starts at 11. I will come back immediately.
Great. So, okay. Thank you very much for joining. But just to mention that we'll just discuss for 5 to 7 minutes. I'll request you to speak on something related to what we are thinking in terms of areas, and last 15 minutes we'll discuss or we'll take some questions. So this is basically the structure, and we are simply expecting what industry can do for, again, just in terms of helping or redefining this skill education in terms of real skilling, not just for the sake of saying skilling or the certification of skills. It is more on hands-on skills. That is basically the purpose.
Got it. Thank you.
तो माधव जी से तो हमने पर्सनली डिस्कस कर लिया था मॉर्निंग में. थैंक यू मिस्टर माधव फॉर ज्वाइनिंग.
Hey, thank you, Professor Ian. Thank you.
Hi, Madhav. All the best.
Hi, Namaskar. कैसे हैं रमाशंकर जी? Good to see you.
All well. Looking forward.
Great. So we are just, Mr. Manish Bansal is the only person. He'll also join at 11:05. He's just about to close his one of the meetings. So if you permit, can we start at 11:05 or we should start at 11? What's your suggestion?
Yeah, 11:05 is okay.
11:05 would be okay? Okay, good. So we'll start at 11:05 and we'll close at 12:05. So I'll just
Dr. Suri, I have a question.
Sorry?
Sorry, yeah, Dr. Suri, Anurag here. So I just missed the initial part. So who are the participants? The 160 participants we see, who are they? What is the background?
Participants are mixed. It's students, faculty members, and people from industry.
So students are all higher students, right?
Students are again mixed. Students will be from diploma programs, from UG programs.
Okay.
So not very higher education like masters and kind of scholars.
Yeah, I meant UG only, not from K-12, right? School students.
Not K-12, not K-12. Yes, not K-12.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mostly either technical students like diploma in engineering and BTech, or some students are general BA, BSc, BCom, but with the skill set like we are offering courses in undergraduate program in various skill set like BA in digital media and design, BA in aesthetics and beauty culture, BBA in facilities and hygiene management, BBA in BFSI.
Yeah, digital media. I saw the ad today. There's an ad.
Yes, today ad is there for the admissions. Yes, you are right. So only digital media is again very high demand course. So we introduced entrance exam for that. So that's why you saw that.
Great. So why is it called BA? It should be science oriented or.
Okay. So sorry, Anurag, your voice is little lower. I think can you little loud, please?
Sorry to intervene, but I think there's some fan noise is coming from somewhere. So if you can settle that noise before we start the session, it will be good. Yeah, it's not there anymore.
It's quiet now. Good. Yeah. So what I'll do, I think we should start at 11. I'll introduce you all. In the meantime, when Manish will join, I'll introduce him separately. So I think we should start with till, and Manish has already interacted, exchanged few messages through WhatsApp. So he's also have idea about what we are going to do. So when he'll join, I'll again explain him. Now the time is 11:01. So Rachna, I think we should just live this now. So we have now 215 participants. It's a quite good number. So I think we should not keep them waiting.
Absolutely, Professor. So I would request you to start.
So Madhav, I'll invite you first.
Yeah, sure, Professor.
Okay, good.
So should I just start? Are you going to?
No, I'll just going and I'll introduce you. I'll invite you. I'll ask you a few things.
Perfect. Sure.
So Rachna, please go live.
So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the conference on celebrating World Youth Skills Day. We are celebrating the World Youth Skills Day with all of you today, and we have Professor Rehan Kansuri from DSEU to set the context of the first inaugural session of it, and also highlight on the redefining skill education, taking industry and the students together. So over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Rachna, for this introduction and invite. First of all, I congratulate, I extend my warm greetings to all the participants, delegates, and the speakers to celebrate this World Youth Skills Day. And I also thank Confederation of Indian Industry to collaborate with Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University to celebrate and to organize this webinar on redefining skill education. First of all, I thank all my co-panelists to spare their time. As you can see, the kind of who's and who's are here in the panel to discuss on redefining skill education. First of all, we should understand what is a skill. Generally, there are many myths and confusions around the skills. Like sometimes people are just saying, what is the difference between practical education and the skill education? Because practicals are there always with the theories. Students have experienced them. But the difference between that practical exposure in the laboratory, in the college or university or school, that is different than the getting hands-on experience, and the acquiring skills is little different, because that is purely in terms of practicing the live skill set. So first of all, we should understand that skill education, and I must appreciate and endorse the initiative of central government, government of Delhi, and few other state governments to start skill education at the level of higher education at the university. There are many exclusive universities in skill development, or skill universities are there. As one of the universities, Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, that is first of its own kind. Because there are skill universities, but Skill and Entrepreneurship University is the only university in the country that is Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University. And the mandate of this university is to deliver skill education in higher education space. And that's why these, I just give a 1 minute's background about the university, and then I'll just move on. Because Delhi government has merged all polytechnics, state polytechnics, into this university. So we are offering diploma in engineering programs and diploma in non-engineering 3 years programs, along with BTech, MTech, and PhD programs. And we are undergraduate 12 programs are there already. And we recently launched BA, BSc, BCom, BMS, BBA programs in one or some skill sets. So this is about the university, and if we just, so we should hear more from industry experts, and the motto, the objective of this university is to integrate with industry, as without industry, providing skills is really, really next to impossible kind of. Because without industry support, it is really very difficult to deliver the live skill set and the future skill set, because the pace industry adopts, which is very, very difficult at the level of university and colleges. Here, we will discuss more on industry integration, not only industry interface with academia. Industry integration is basically the day zero involvement of industry prior to launch the course, which course to be launched, the prior to the developing the course curriculum, like involvement in developing the curriculum and delivering the skill education along with the industry experts, and the exposure in terms of visiting industry, getting some projects, doing some projects. There are some apprenticeship embedded programs where students are spending half of the time there in industry, coming back and studying. So such kind of arrangements are there. There are Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University has taken the lead to sign MOUs with more than 60 industry partners and delivering that skill education. So here we have with us, I would like to introduce our panelist, Mr. Madhav Singhania, who is the Deputy Managing Director and CEO of JKS Cement Limited. We have with us Mr. Manish Bansal, who is going to just join us very soon, within 2 or 3 minutes. Mr. Anurag Krishna, who is head CSR of North Tata Consultancy Services. We have with us Mr. Sachin haritasH, Director of Chetak Logistics and also industry partner with DSEU. Mr. Madhav Singhania is with us, and I would like to invite him first. But before inviting him, just to speak on this redefining skill education, I would like to introduce him to the audience of today. Mr. Madhav Singhania is Deputy Managing Director and CEO of JKS Cement Limited, one of the leading grey cement producers in the country, and the third largest white cement producer globally. Mr. Madhav Singhania completed his bachelor's in electrical and computer engineering from Carnegie Mellon University, United States of America, and a diploma in family business management from IMD Lausanne, Switzerland. He joined JK Cement Limited in early 2010 and has been instrumental in spearheading new capacity expansion projects for JK Cement that has led to doubling the company's grey cement manufacturing capacity from 7.5 megaton in 2010 to 15 metric ton in 2020. It's a double within 10 years. Mr. Madhav Singhania has been very actively involved with various industries bodies. He has been the chairman of Young Indians Delhi Youth Wing of Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, which is focused on nation building, youth leadership, and thought leadership. Currently, he's serving on the CII Delhi State and CII Northern Region Council. He was also on the board of governors for National Council for Cement and Building Materials, which is focused on objective to promote research and scientific work connected with cement and building material trade and industry. Here, I would like to invite him, and just with the thought, and just out of my curiosity, I would like to ask a question to Madhav. Madhav, just would like to hear from you, like from your perspective, what should be the role of industry in terms of delivering and helping in universities in shaping up this skill education for 21st century?
So, Professor Suri, firstly, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here today and to share my thoughts on this very important subject. A very good morning to all fellow delegates and our panelists today. In fact, it's also good to see my dear friend Ramashankar ji, and look forward to hearing his views as well later. So, firstly, I'm glad we are celebrating World Youth Skills Day today. It's a very important day and just shows the importance that this subject carries. While we are all, while we all know the importance of the subject, I think it's important I still give my perspective on it. So, firstly, we are coming out of the COVID crisis and we are seeing a lot of geopolitical changes which are happening across the world. And in this, what is happening is that India is trying to emerge as an alternate for global supply chains. And in this, there is the opportunity to try and make more and more products in India through the Make in India campaign, as well as the PLI scheme. And with the growth, which is, foreseen, obviously the skills which will be needed going forward, which may be slightly different from the skills which we have focused on in the past. The second aspect is that our country has this very rich demographic dividend, and we are all aware of the high number of youth, maybe over 60% of the population. And how do we make sure that we can utilize this and leverage this in the best possible manner? And that's where employability and skilling again becomes key. And then the third aspect is how do we create more job creators in the economy rather than job seekers. So keeping this backdrop, firstly, I'd like to congratulate the Delhi government and Professor Suri for the initiative of creating the Delhi Skills Entrepreneurship and Skilling University, because it's very rare that one comes across skilling at higher education. We have traditionally seen a lot of skilling at a vocational training level or at a polytechnic level. And, I can share a couple of experiences from JK Cement as well as to how we have seen skilling evolve. Because, when we initially set up factories, we would see a lot of people come up to us and ask for employment, but the skill level was very poor and we would find it very difficult to find the desired skill trades. And which is when we started multiple ITIs to find or to train the people as welders, fitters, mechanics, electricians. And, there was a perception that blue collar jobs were not as good as white collar jobs. But today we see, blue collar jobs even earn more than white collar jobs, as well as, certain other countries are also now looking to reap into the demographic dividend which India gives, which we are seeing in terms of, the ECTA with Australia, wherein certain visa regulations have also been eased for certain skills to come out of India, whether it be yoga instructors, it be chefs. So we're seeing different skills evolve wherein the world needs these skills, and India's demographic dividend plays an important role in this. The second aspect is, we also run a university in Udaipur, which is a philanthropic venture of the JK Cement Foundation. And what we see is that, skills of today are very different from the skills of the past. The issues are, number one, the students, whatever they learn in college, when they go to the job, it probably takes 6 to 12 months for a company to mold them into what exactly they want from them. And the second aspect is people, despite finishing a course, maybe find it tough to get placed. So how do we bridge this gap? And this is where the industry academic collaboration comes in. And it's a very important aspect. I'm happy, Professor Suri, to see, some of the new type of curriculum which you have come up with in the Delhi Skills University. Whether it is around, digital marketing, data analytics, supply chain management, because the courses of today are very different. Like, let's say a data analytics would not have been something which would have been there 10 years ago. But today it is the need of every company. Or let's say, there are certain trades wherein earlier it used to be very generic. Now it is becoming more specific based on the skill and how we make that skill useful. So what we can do here is, maybe you can have an industry academic council as a part of the university, wherein you could get people from various, domain specific expertise or industry expertise coming in to give their views, based on which you could create curriculum. The second aspect is even the curriculum needs to keep evolving. And in this, training of faculty is extremely important. Faculty has to understand what is the need of today compared to the need of the past. And here there has to be more interaction between faculty and industry. And then obviously the third aspect is, how do we provide more on-job training in the form of internships, experiences, which could then be taken forward. And then in the end, obviously leading to placement. And the best part, which I see in everything, is the NEP framework gives institutions a lot more freedom in terms of how they can evolve their curriculum based on today's needs compared to, what it used to be in the past and traditionally. So these are my views, Professor Khan. I'll come back based on, whatever.
Sure. We'll come back with some questions as mentioned by you. Very, very important few things like Academy Industry Council, and especially the faculty industry connect. And here, as I would like to just mention, we are also working on that. How can we connect our faculty in terms of with industry to get upgrade in terms of the latest technology, the trends in the industry, which they can also bring to the classrooms. Thank you very much, Madhav.
Sorry, Professor Suri, one last point. At
Yes, please.
CII, we really look forward as to how as industry we can work towards with the Delhi government as well as the Delhi Skills University to make sure that we can add value. And we're happy to bring in the desired industry expertise as well to help you out. So that's the last point there.
Sure, we'll in touch with you, and we'll also ask other universities and colleges to be in touch with you to just get more industry exposure and integration with other colleges and universities. Thank you very much, Madhav. Please be with us. So because we'll open for question answers at end of the session, last 15 minutes, we'll keep for the question to take some questions. So those who would like to ask questions, please put in the question and answer box. So we will take some questions through that box. So now we have Mr. Sachin haritasH, who is the director of Chetak Logistics with us. He's a director of Chetak Logistics. Chetak Logistics is one of the leading logistics player in the country. He is the director of Chetak Logistics and founder of Mavin. Mavin is basically an IT company to just provide an ecosystem for logistics companies. He's in charge of expanding organizations' footprint in India by steering the conceptualization and execution of key strategies related to management and operational leads of the company. Sachin has been an active proponent in bringing significant expansion of Mavin and is therefore responsible for planning strategic growth of the company. Assiduous in nature, he has worked his way through all levels in the parent company, Chetak Logistics, where he joined as an executive. His knowledge of transportation and logistics industry, coupled with his perseverance and the innovative approach, enabled him to set higher standards for Mavin. With his multifaceted skill set, Sachin strives to establish Mavin as a complete digitized trucking platform, providing a reliable and cost-effective solution to transport goods in India. Sachin is an alumnus of NMIMS Mumbai and Sri Venkateshwara College, Delhi University. So, Sachin, here I would like to ask one question to you. Like, as you are partnering with DSEU also, and you are very keen to just support many institutions, especially in terms of developing skills in logistics space. So we would like to hear from your experience in terms of working with academia, providing, you have already initiated many things, I have seen that. So we would like to hear that from you, from that perspective. How can we integrate industry with academia in delivering the better skills and skills for 21st century?
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for inviting me. And thank you for the giving us some opportunity. And good morning to the panelists and all the audiences, students, and industry players. So as you have highlighted that we are being associated with the DSEU, and nothing better than that. Today is the World Youth Day. And today we have launched Jai Krishna Logistics Students Awards with DSEU. And in this, again, then students will be provided with the problem. So the industry problems, students should understand that what are the industry problem challenges and how they have to solve. So as being associated with the DSEU and many other education institute, today the kind of openness the universities are showing for integrating the industries to develop the courses. So as we have held in your course designing, what we want, what are the ground realities and challenges which students should learn and understand. In this, as the new skill sets, as Mr. Madhavji has rightly said, that the post-COVID, the new skill sets which are being required now is very different from the past. And for that, how the industry is being ready, and the industry needs the youth, which is our backbone and which will drive us to take India to internationally with a $5 trillion, which will our government would like to make. So those skill sets, the industry should collaborate with the universities, one, and thanks to the DSU who has provided the open-handed, as we came in the first to the DSU to present that we would like to integrate with you and to start uplifting the students' skill sets. And you have provided us a very open hand. And similarly, there's a new university which has come up. Previously, it was a National Rail Transport and Institute in Baroda, which day before yesterday, the government of India, Mr. Anurag Thakur, has announced as a Gati Shakti University. They're also focused primarily on the logistic, as I'm from the logistic and transportation side. So I'll be covering more on this aspect. So there we had a word with them, with their VC also, and they are also very much open that how the Chetak will bring their expertise in the rail transportation and how we'll optimize the cost for the industry. And we are very thankful that we are being initiating with them, and their students will be working, will be approaching to them for the live projects. So the live projects are very one of the, again, the real-time projects which the industry should bring in. And in the similar lines, we are bringing the talks, the industry talks to the professor, as again Mr. Madhavji has said that the professors, the associate professor should also understand the industry problems and challenges and their working styles. So by bringing the expert lectures and the industry speaker should come in. The professor involvement with the industry will uplift the undergraduate programs. In a postgraduate, people get reasonable free hand and they have the exposure of the industry, but the undergraduate students, which makes their foundation strong, there was a gap, and that gap is being filled by the skill universities like DSEU, and that will help the getting the base strong, and the students can connect the real-time industry challenges and the problems. And that way, we are very support from the DSU that as an industry we always wanted to do, but there were hardly any universities who are very open-handedly embarrassing our suggestions and our solutions or a helping hand to the industry to uplift the student standards. But now many universities are coming up to do this, and it's very encouraging for the students. And I've seen the kind of enthusiasm and the aspiration the students has to work with the industry. And many of the students who visited the site visits, and now by coming back to their classes, they can connect their curriculum. And the curriculum also, there's NEP has given a free hand to all the universities to change their curriculum the way they want, and the way the industry collaborate with them. And that again gives a very much confidence to the industry. Yes, there are new suggestions, new topics, new courses can be designed with the support of industries, and that is the way forward to uplift the standard knowledge skill sets of the students. And I'll take the questions more on the students, that what they want from us, that which we can add on and collaborate in our courses or in our any activities which we keep doing for the universities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sachin. Thank you very much for all your inputs on integrating with the university. Especially you launched various scholarships. And as you mentioned about today's, like you launched a student award in logistical management, and which is basically focusing on the problems of industry. So this is really a very good area where industry is extending their problems to students to solve. So students are also learning, and industry is also getting some solutions, of course, with the support of faculty members. And also you mentioned about the openness of the university. So academia has to again open and extend arms to, like with the open arms, they should invite industry to work with them. Industry is ready to do that. And another thing you said, NEP. Yes, NEP is again redefining that entire ecosystem of education, especially in terms of skilling. Thank you very much. I'll again come back to you while questions would be there at the end. Now I welcome Mr. Manish Bansal, who has joined a little late, but he has joined now. Manish, thank you very much for joining. Manish Bansal is CEO of Window Magics India Private Limited. But as we have already Mr. Anurag Krishna, so I would like to invite him to speak on. So I just would like to introduce Mr. Anurag Krishna to the audience, to all the delegates. Mr. Krishna has a rich experience of more than 15 years in IT industry. Currently, he is heading the CSR initiatives of TCS in Northern India. Northern India. Mr. Agrawal, can you just mute, please? There's some disturbance from Mr. S.K. Agrawal. Can you please mute? Mr. Krishna has handled various roles in TCS involving relationship management, account management, primarily of telecom and health verticals in various countries. He has also headed the management committee of health and safety environment of development centers of TCS in Gurgaon, covering over 10,000 associates. Anurag is currently actively involved in propagating the TCS developed computer-based functional literacy solution to accelerate adult literacy in the country, that is available in 9 Indian languages and 2 African tribal languages. This computer-based program has so far provided literacy skills to over 3 lakh people across rural and tribal areas, urban slums, and prisons. Anurag is actively involved in several CSR initiatives undertaken by TCS in Northern India, primarily ones being Tihar prisons, adult literacy programs covering more than 1,000 inmates and women literacy program run by various NGOs covering over 500 centers in Delhi and NCR and other northern states, thereby enriching the lives of more than 1 lakh women. So welcome. Sorry, there is also a little more about him. Anurag is also an active and enthusiastic quizzer. I have already attended his few quizzes he has done recently for my parent institution at Jamia, and he is having won. So he's an enthusiastic quizzer, having won Northern Zone Tata Crucible Corporate Business Quiz for Tata employees continuously for several years. He has also represented TCS and won several quizzes conducted by leading business forums and various premier management institutes. He has been invited to organize and host quizzing sessions in NASSCOM Leadership Forum and various leading institutes. Anurag also conducts the annual CSR and Environment Awareness Quiz Program for Lead India Initiative for countries leading corporates and for PSUs. So welcome, Mr. Anurag Krishna, for your, I would like to understand more about, of course, industries are generally supporting various initiatives through CSR, but beyond CSR also. Here, as you are heading one of the northern region for CSR for TCS, and TCS has a large in terms of capacity to spend on CSR also. So we would like to hear from you in terms of CSR, how can CSR helps in building industry integration with academia?
Sure, sure. So thanks, first of all, thanks Professor Suri for that kind introduction. Pretty long, but yeah, trying to do our bit in from TCS side. So yeah, I'd like to thank CIA as well, and what a day to conduct this program today, being the World Youth Skills Day. So Professor Suri, this World's Youth Skill Day, as you might be knowing, was announced by UN in 2014, and finally we get a skill enterprise university starting from Delhi. So kudos to you and everyone who is behind setting up this university. So finally we are coming up to the needs and the demands of today. Coming to what TCS does and what through CSR we are trying to do in India is something which has been for long. It has been happening for long, but particularly last 2 years, as we all know, have been pretty disastrous as far as in-office, in-person things were concerned. So trainings, apprenticeships, which were really needed on the job, as we call them, really took a toss, and 80% of trainings and apprenticeships, I'm told, were interrupted in the manufacturing industry. So thankfully that didn't happen in IT industry because of the working mode and the digital platforms that are required to work in this type of industries. But having said that, the backbone IT always work as a backbone for other industries. So the hit which was taken the last 2 years, as my previous panelists mentioned, that hit is now seen with the world opening up and with more challenges coming. So through CSR, we are trying to touch the lives of the young, the women, the poor, and the rural, who have been impacted most in this COVID times. And it's surprising. I mean, it's really surprising to know that it's not just in this country, but in the whole world. 30% of young women and approximately 13% of young men, they have lost not just the opportunity for a job, Professor Suri, but an opportunity for education and training as well. So that's what we call as NEET rate. So that NEET rate of 30% in women and 13% in men is alarming globally, and I don't have the figures for India, but I'm presuming that it will be much higher in our country. So what we have been doing last 2-3 years primarily is that we are trying to reach out the the rural setup of the country and the Niti Aayog's designated districts, which are called as the backward districts, the aspirational districts. And in those districts, TCS is working with the youth and the women folks, and also encouraging the entrepreneurship in the programs which we offer. So primarily the programs revolve around education and skill development. but these are again low hanging sort of fruits, as we call, where we tend to make them just employable that they can do their earnings. So for example, the government run common service centers, we collaborate the youths of the rural areas to start opening these centers, and that involves particularly many of them are women there who have been household, or they don't even have a formal education, but they have been able to run these, and just making them more digitally skilled by how to run a computer or even how to run a smartphone. They are able to earn their livelihood. So Professor Suri, just to sum up and summarize, it's thinking simple and making things do, and make India connected to the digital platform, which has been the need for the last 2 years, particularly in the pandemic. So that's what primarily TCS is trying to do. So we call it as Digital Empowers as a program under CSR. So that is where, and I'll be happy to take lots and lots of questions. I'm from IT background as well, so I'm a technical person as well. So I'll when the questions comes in the end, I will try to tell what trends are there in the industry, where they can go. And I can already see 400 participants. So I'm presuming that many of them or most of them are students. So I'll be happy to take more questions instead of just telling monologue. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you very much, Anurag ji. And you as mentioned about digital skills. Yes, it is really, really very, very important for each and everybody, whether it's a technical person or non-technical person. And recently our Minister of Education, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, launched digital skilling initiative for the class 7 onward students in the schools also. Right, so you rightly pointed out in terms of employability, in terms of women empowerment, digital skills, very, very important to imbibe these skills and bringing people just up. Thank you very much. So we'll again come back to you whenever questions would be there. And we have now Mr. Ramashankar Pandey, who has joined us little late, but of course he was here at 11, but because of some reasons he just requested to join little late. He's Managing Director and CEO of Hella India Lighting. Welcome, Mr. Ramashankar. I'll just come back to you, but before you, I would like to go to Manish Bansal, who is the CEO of Window Magic India Private Limited. Manish, can you just, I can't see you, sorry. So you are there? Yes, Manish, okay. Smiling, smart, young boy. So nice to have you with us, Manish. You are just disseminating energy, positive energy. So I would like to introduce you first, and then I'll come some questions to you. So then you have to address this August gathering here. So Manish, having acquired a degree from University of Kent, Canterbury, UK, Mr. Manish is the current CEO and Director of Window Magic and spearheads a leading fenestration brand in India. He is a successful business leader prospering in building and construction equipment industry. Manish played a significant role in transforming Window Magic into a profitable venture. His clear vision, commitment to quality standards, market and consumer foresightedness added new insights to Window Magic as a company. Manish holds distinct expertise in global strategic management, including development, expansion, and turnaround initiatives. His belief and understanding of future market trends have helped in popularizing all products in India. Manish has successfully established a reputation of being a dynamic, visionary, and strategic leader in the industry. In addition, he is on the steering committee of the Australia-India Youth Dialogue. He has also served as the president of Rotary Club of Kanpur, Gaurav. Thank you very much, Manish, for joining us. And as you are, again, we have many youths on this panel like Madhav, you, Sachin. We are considering Anurag, me, Ramashankar is little senior group. So I think you may influence our youth more than us. So would like to understand from you from the perspective of turnaround, like especially in terms of skill, redefining skill education in India, and you have to just turn around this education as per se, and higher education, higher skill education. What do you think? How can we really transform this skill education in this country? Of course, with the help of the industry.
Thank you, Professor Suri, and good morning all my fellow participants here and the colleagues. So, Professor Suri, the point of transformation in terms of skill in today's time is very different. As my earlier participants have already spoken about the digitalization. So, what has happened is in the past, digitalization was something which was talked about. And due to the pandemic, the digitalization along with the skill set is very important. So every skill set today, whether be it offline or online, it needs certain amount of digitalizations along with it. So one point which I would like to add as a redefinition for the skill would be the digitalization and the adaptability of digitalization amongst the youth and also amongst the different companies altogether. As we see, the major number of companies in India is MSME. The major chunk of the GDP of India is MSME, and the major places where the skill is used from this youth is MSME. But what I would like to point out over here to my audience, which I'm assuming is major students and youths, is that that skill set is very important. But at the same time, what we are missing is everyone is talking about developing the skill. Everyone is talking about youth empowerment. But what about when they are acquired with that skill and how do they use it? The bigger question here is not acquiring the skill. The bigger question for me from my experience is that once you have that skill set, how do you utilize it in the terms when you get employed in a company? What is you bring on the table? And when you are on the job, what vision do you carry? From my experience, Professor Suri, people with good amount of skill set, they do not tend to stick to one profile. They want to change very frequently. In my view, the learning process stops there. Because when you keep on adding new products to your learning skill, you cannot be master of one. From our experience, you have to master a product, master a service, and then only you will be able to excel in your career. Also, one point which I would like to chat upon is that when we are talking about skill development, what is also important in the skill development is, and especially for the Indian society to start thinking on it, is this women empowerment. That till the time we don't bring women to the same levels of skill development, as a society, we would not be able to do equality and the community at large will not improve. So that's all what I have to say here, Professor Suri.
Oh, thank you very much, Manish, for being little crisp and very short. It's really, so we'll take some questions and then we'll come back to you. Thank you very much. We have very senior person with us, not in terms of age, but he's senior in terms of his industry exposure, and the kind of, he has done the kind of business he has established. Mr. Ramashankar Pandey, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Hela India Lighting Limited. And again, I would like to listen more from him. That's why I have kept 7 to 10 minutes for him. So, Ramashankar ji, please.
Thank
so
you,
I'm not saying anything to you. You are open to say anything. I know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Suri. Very quickly come back to the topic. First of all, apologies for joining with a delay. As this is a special day today, we just launched, because I belong to automotive industry. So I was with ASDC and ACMA in between. We launched today something called MOU between ACMA and ASDC for training our technicians and our distributor sales representatives, those kind of skills. Because as Manish also said, that the jobs are not always in blue chip companies. Jobs are in the ecosystem. Jobs are basically.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just missed to introduce you in little detail. So I think
it's fine. I think let's
should know about you. Just give me one minute to introduce you also. I'm sorry, I just missed to introduce in the excitement. I just missed that. But I would like to come back and just, because 400 people are there, they should know about you also. So Ramashankar Pandey ji is one of the youngest professional CEO, a social entrepreneur. He is Managing Director of Hela India Lighting Limited. since 2010, a Great Place to Work certified company, and the most innovative enterprise as awarded by CII in 2007 in mid-size manufacturing category. He is winner of Asia Pacific Entrepreneurship Award for 2016 in the promising category. He is an alumnus of NIT Calicut, ICFAI Hyderabad, and IIM Bangalore. He also completed IMA's flagship Global Advanced Management Program at University of California, Berkeley, Silicon Valley. He is the chairman of Aftermarket Committee at ACMA. He is EG member at ASDC Road Transport Committee. He's also chairman. He's on board of, he's jury member, board of member on many associations and committees. He's very passionate and actively engaged to fight the menace of alarming road deaths on Indian roads by steering various road safety awareness campaigns as President CWC of a Drive Smart, Drive Safe organization. In this capacity, he is known more as a social activist, a road safety warrior than a professional CEO. His contribution towards Skill India initiative as co-founder of Prayas Bangalore since his Bosch days in 1998 has benefited hundreds of underprivileged youth get jobs and livelihood they deserve. Currently, 3 skill centers are run by Prayas in association with the Smart Village project in Andhra. So welcome to you, Ramashankarji. I'm sorry for this interruption, but it was really very much needed to know about your social activism other than your professional work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's get to the topic quickly. As I was telling you that we were just in the ASDC forum today celebrating the World Youth Skill Day, because everyone, is understanding the importance of skilling. From the industry experience, what I can tell you that we do a lot at Automotive Skill Development Council with ACMA, with SIAM, FADA, a lot of from supply side, a lot of apprenticeship we do. What is missing for us to scale it up, because the kind of jobs which is needed, not always it is available in the blue chip companies. Rather we are working on Industry 4.0 and we are getting more and more, on productivity level higher. What we find, most of the aspirants for skilling, when we go looking for demand side of skilling, that is what is missing. So as industry, we are trying hard now. Recently, we launched something called Automotive Olympiad, because today's youth, they need to see skill as cool. There has to be a cool factor with skill. Unfortunately, we are so much obsessed with degree and designation that in our country, I don't know who will want to marry his daughter with a master plumber or a chief diploma holder into a, so this is my major concern. I've been working very hard in this area. Everybody would like to have a cushy job and everybody wants to have that prime job, but they end up doing something unwillingly. And then what happens, as everybody said, if you do a job unhappily and not really taking it as a aspirational factor, the productivity goes low. In my industry, in automotive, if you ask a driver, he never wants his son to become a driver. This is the, and most of the skill is seen as something like down, rather than those managerial position and getting into an IT world. So what we are now trying to do is to go to schools and colleges and educate them that this is cool, because today's youth is little unconventional. And we see a chance now compared to the earlier generation. If you ask my generation, people start talking only when you give your visiting card and they know your introduction. That who you are. That is where they start with designation. What we need to know that what skill they are, how they are known in the industry has to be based on their skill, not belonging to particular designation, because designation will come and go, positions will come and go, but your skill needs to be celebrated. So on this day, I appeal to all of us, whatever we can do to celebrate World Youth Skill Day is for skill. Put that in the center part of it. So what I'm amazed, these video games on many of the digital platform, what they are doing, they are creating digital skills. Today, if you look at, even a farmer is able to do WhatsApp, is able to do a lot of these digital stuff because he needs it. And then he has a cool factor around it, working on a mobile, working on a challenge. So can we have together something like a mission? You remember this experiment in Delhi with Business Blaster, how small kids were trained in entrepreneurial skill because of competition, because of challenge, because today's youth does not have that much attention span to go deeper. I think rightly pointed out by Manishji also that he wants to go here and there and a lot of things he wants to do. So his attention span is coming down. how do we get him interested in our skill? So at automotive, what we are doing is we are throwing a lot of hackathons and challenges, and by which we are creating interest in them. Of course, from the supply side, we have a lot of training partners. We also partnered with TCS, with Iron Platform. And in the automotive, we are starting with small courses because, apprenticeship of 6 months, 2 years, 1 year, what we needed was even a 80-hour apprenticeship. In fact, what I'm working now is hourly apprenticeship. Is it feasible, possible? We have to see. And also we have to see, can an apprentice dream to become the managing director of a company? Can he grow that cumulative skills and come back? I was fortunate when I was working with Bosch, I saw an apprentice becoming the president of the company, Mr. Ravindranath Rao. And this excited me. And they said, why not we educate people in a way that they themselves ask for a skill? Supply side will come. When you have big demand for coaching centers, Kota had just generated coaching center from nowhere. It was not in my time at least. And I see now this ecosystem is coming up. So demand side is most crucial. We need to work with schools and colleges to complement it. We cannot fight with current school education system, but rather we complement them by giving them more challenges. I think a lot of digital companies are doing it. Microsoft is doing it. Google is doing it. TCS is doing it. What they do, they go to colleges and they create these challenges, the coding challenges, digital challenges, which complement what they are doing. So what I would like to summarize, Professor Suri, is from supply side, we are prepared. Whatever is needed, there is a high importance in all the top management of automotive companies. We need people to get on the demand side. How can you generate curiosity for automotive skills? How do you generate that reputation, that respect for those, so that people can join? Today, nobody joining to become a driver. If you go abroad, they are. It's not a bad job to be a driver, to be a master technician. But in our country, we have to do something about it as a social change. And whatever you need from companies like us, from the CSR side, from our normal business side, we are fully prepared. And that's why I'm looking for as many questions as possible, even from your side and audience side. There are a lot of plans which we have, and we are working on it with a core region when we can change this obsession of degree and designation towards skilling and start valuing these people and give them respect and reputation. Over to you, Mr. Suri.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pandey, for very crisp and very targeted, focused, as you mentioned about how to generate the respect. We have to bring that that kind of culture, the ecosystem where people will respect others, and this stigma will go. Like skilling means plumber, or as you mentioned about master plumber or chief diploma. So that respect should be there. So nobody should be like somebody. Skill is any skill, whether it's a driving or electrician. So there should be a kind of respect as again in the Western world that is there. So you are rightly pointed out in terms of.
And I tell you the impact, yes. Professor Suri, the impact of this is, you see every apartment, your bathrooms will be leaking because you don't respect them. You think you can buy a plumber. Your most of the places, your quality of work is deteriorating because you don't respect them. And you think you can just buy them off. This does not happen abroad. If you go to good countries, especially where I work a lot with Germany, with dual education system and such an interesting apprenticeship, they respect them. They give them a technician come in a Mercedes to repair a bus. So somewhere it is impacting us. Otherwise also, not from the job perspective, our quality, our life quality, our standard of living, everything is getting disrupted. If you change this, a lot of things will happen good in the society.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And one very important point you mentioned, and we have seen many executives, they have grown up to CEO and chairman of the companies. As you mentioned about one apprenticeship, Mr. Ravindra Rao has become the president of the company. So we have to just bring those kind of ideals and role models to them, basically, because I have seen the resistance in joining as an apprentice. There are many resistance are there, and even the students don't understand the value of the apprenticeship. So that is also there. So we'll again come back to you whether with the questions. So I can see 3 questions in the chat box also. So now, thank you very much for taking the time. I'm so happy that all the professional panelists are there, so they have not crossed the limit of the time. So now this is a time for question and answer. So I'm just, I would like to see, and I can see two questions which are there, but otherwise two not very relevant questions are there. As one person has asked for a, what are top skills we should have? So this is open for any panelist. Top skills means they would like to understand the skills in more in demand kind of.
I think it's a pretty tricky question. So the future skills, there are many you can actually go and get some information. But to me, most important skills are that learning skill. Whatever you need first, all those life skill, all those critical skill, which can get you higher on those further skilling. So whether it is your life skill like communication skill, your people handling skill, interpersonal skill, if you get first into that, and then move towards the domain specific skill. So if you kind of get into first life skill, and these life skills are not only coming from the IQ or only from information download, but practice it and then move towards domain specific skill. If you ask me today on the domain specific skill, where jobs are more, I think one thing comes on my mind is data scientists, the AI ML guys, because everywhere data is becoming business. So if one can get into data and digitization part of it, I think demand is huge and supply is less, so you can monetize yourself more. Of course, you can have interest in other skills also, like pure automotive, but data and AI ML is getting into automotive, every part of our industry. So if one has to really now look at top skills, I think it's fortunately getting more into Indian strength, which is our IT skills and data scientist.
Okay, one again, another question which has been already answered in the question and answer box, but I would just in the interest of other participants. So this question is CII, is there a place where students can find details about internships availability in one place? Can CII do something to provide this info to students across country? So this is for Madhav, I think you please.
Yeah, so Professor Suri, isme CII has a concept of a model career center. I even put it in the Q&A box, and there are multiple model career centers across the country. There is one which we have opened in Delhi recently. It is and they can check it out. And there are career fairs that happen there regularly, and there are multiple opportunities that come across. So it's something which maybe aspiring students could explore.
Thank you. So there is another question for Sachin, haritasH. How do you encourage girls to take up a career in logistics / transportation sector, where we have very few, like generally we have very few girls in the current scenario?
Yes, sir. So now we are trying that more girls, because there are many jobs which girls can handle better, and they can do things much easier on the desk. For that, we have initiated the scholarships, Jai Krishna scholarship for the girls and the economic weaker section girls. So by way of doing this and promoting and bringing the live visits to the head office warehouses, where they can use their skills and can see the environment. Yes, they are now, the logistics sector has reasonably upgraded their infrastructure, and the e-commerce has been given a very good push to the logistic and supply chain, and they are in a right environment, they are in a safe environment. They can do office works, and even now there are few girls who are opting for the marketing in logistics, which is very promising and upcoming. And I think that the skill exposures to them and the infrastructure realities which they will feel and see will help them and push them to opt for the logistics sector, which is very tough and primarily and mainly being dominated by the male gender. So I believe that in coming years, there are and there will be many female and girls who will be opting for the logistic and supply chain courses. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sachin. Now, next question to again, I think Manish, I would like to take him on. How can how can we develop this industry's faith in the Indian skill development ecosystem and get their active involvement?
It's a tricky question, Professor Suri. So the point, as this is very related to what I stated in my conversation earlier. So this faith has to be two ways, to be honest. So one, the industry faith in the skill is the skilled youth has to prove longevity, which all the participants would agree on this platform is that the skilled youth just out of college who has enormous amount of information and has enormous amount of energy to work, but at the same time the longevity of such participants is a question which we have experienced in the past. We have done a lot of recruitments through a lot of centers and we have tried our experiences. So that is one which needs to be improved as a longevity. And second, what is more important is there are still certain industries for which the courses and the knowledge is still not being taught at the lot of universities, at the skill centers. So a close connect with the industry bodies and such courses developed, then if it is more specific, then the faith of the industry with the skill youth will increase, in my opinion.
So thank you, Manish. It was really, so just to take on from here, another question is again related to your answer, and that would go to Mr. Anurag. I'll not just bother you much because he's from IT and he's also working with many colleges. How can someone upgrade his or her skill to a next level or to add new one while working in an organization? And another question is, again, I would like to just take two questions together. Skill education doesn't seem fruitful until and unless we have syllabus updation regularly. What has been done and what steps will you take regarding this?
Right, yeah. So, Professor Suri, there has been a request, somebody saying speak in Hindi also. So,
you please answer in Hindi.
So basically, means Ramashankar ji ने जो बताया that data is the, कुछ words English में होंगे, but those are generic words. So data is the future, data is the new currency, they say. And I understand already the fact है कि आज हम इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे सब आए हैं और प्रोफेसर सूरी इज रिप्रेजेंटिंग DSU. सो ये इटसेल्फ ये साबित करता है कि फाइनली आफ्टर लॉन्ग टाइम एजुकेशन सिस्टम में हमने चेंजेस देखना शुरू किया है, और जब से न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी आई है तो तब से ये और भी ज़्यादा जागरूकता और उसकी तरफ हम जा रहे हैं. तो जो क्वेश्चन पूछा जा रहा है कि करिकुलम को कैसे अपडेट किया जाए या इंडस्ट्री नीड्स को कॉलेज में कैसे इंक्लूड किया जाए, तो उसके ऑलरेडी उसके आंसर्स दे चुके हैं हमारे पैनलिस्ट की. डीप कोलैबोरेशन चाहिए हमें एकेडमिया और इंडस्ट्री की. और आईटी की तरफ अगर मैं आपको लेकर चलूँ तो पहले आईटी में क्या होता था, जब मैंने अपना करियर शुरू किया था तब जो हमें कस्टमर कुछ काम देता था हम उसको करते थे, तो उसको बहुत डेरोगेटली हम बोलते भी थे कि कोडर्स वर्ल्ड वी आर लिविंग इन, एंड दैट्स व्हाट हम वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड को वो केटर करते थे. बट अभी चेंजेस बहुत ज़्यादा हो चुके हैं, और जो चेंजेस हो चुके हैं वो सब चेंजेस आप सब लोगों को भी सीखने हैं जो आज सब जुड़ रहे हैं एज अ स्टूडेंट्स. आई एम अज्यूमिंग कि हम क्या प्रपोज कर सकते हैं कस्टमर को, हम क्या प्रपोज कर सकते हैं कि क्या नीड्स हैं जो कस्टमरों को चेंज करनी चाहिए. तो वो जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और उसको जानने के लिए एक कॉलेज के लेवल पे अगर आप सीखना चाहें चीज़ें तो दैट इज़ द राइट थिंग, और दैट्स व्हाट इज़ हैपनिंग. अगर आप वर्ल्ड के जितने भी एंटरप्रेन्योर्स या डिजिटल वर्ल्ड के एंटरप्रेन्योर्स या उनको बिलियनर्स मिलियनर्स या क्या बोल सकते हैं, जैसे मार्क ज़करबर्ग हैं, तो इन्होंने अब सब कुछ जो शुरू किया उन्होंने अपने कॉलेज में शुरू किया. काफ़ियों ने अपने घर के बैकयार्ड गैरेजेस में शुरू किया काम करना. सो ये सब उन्होंने कॉलेज टाइम में शुरू किया. तो दिस इज़ द राइट टाइम फॉर ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स हु आर हियर टुडे. एंड व्हाट बेटर देन, इससे अच्छा दिन क्या हो सकता है एजुकेशन स्किल डे का, जिसमें आप अपना एक स्किल पकड़ें, जो ट्रेंड देखें इंडस्ट्री का, ट्रेंड देखें वर्ल्ड का कि वर्ल्ड किस तरफ जा रहा है और क्या नीड हो सकती है इंडस्ट्री की. तो बहुत ही क्रूड वे में एग्जांपल अगर आपको दूं कि अगर एक तरीका ये होता है कि दुकानदार आपको बोले कि आप किसी दुकान पे जा रहे हैं और दुकानदार आपको बोले कि ये चीज़ खरीद लीजिए, तो आप नहीं खरीदेंगे. लेकिन अगर आप दुकानदार अगर कस्टमर की नीड देखे, कस्टमर का अगर देखे, बहुत ही क्रूड एग्जांपल है कि जैसे बारिशों का मौसम है, अगर कस्टमर को देखे कि वो भीगा हुआ आपकी दुकान में घुसा है, तो आप उसको बोल सकते हैं कि मेरे पास एक बहुत अच्छा छाता है जो बहुत डिस्काउंट में मिल रहा है और बहुत डिफरेंट तरह का एक अम्ब्रेला है, तो क्या आप लेना चाहेंगे? तो होपफुली आप लोग सब समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या कहना चाहता हूँ कि जो जो नीड्स हैं, जो कस्टमर की नीड्स हैं, वो आपको खुद समझनी है और उनको फिर देखकर आपको अपनी स्किल्स अपग्रेड करनी है. सो
So
वही
thank you.
फ्यूचर है, वही फ्यूचर है.
Thank you, Anurag. Thank you very much for just explaining in a very easy way. Manish would like to say something on it also. Manish,
just to add, thank you, Professor Suri. Just to add to what Anuragji was said, I would also like to add here is that there is no age in terms of skill development. So when I want to say this is, I see a lot of youth who have developed themselves at a certain skill set, but when they get employed or when they start their career, so as you were saying that how can I improve my skill set, so there are ways that they can actually they can study themselves that which is the right way for them, because I see a lot of times the youth is under either a pressure from the family that you should choose this line, or there's a peer pressure that okay, let's do this and do this, but however his skill set is very different. So if he or she along the career they choose the different skill set and start learning it, that can also try and prove to be better, because that will become a passion driven skill set. And we all know and all our experiences that passion driven skill set is better. Just to add a little bit here, Professor Suri, myself, I am in the fenestration business wherein we have to discuss MMs and square feet and square meters every day. And we have to calculate wind pressures. And trust me, I, as a background, have zero knowledge, and I probably still will make a mistake to convert from mm to square feet. So what I'm trying to say is you have to evolve during the course of your career and choose the right skill what you have, barring what you have learned in the previous times. That's what I wanted to add here.
Very rightly pointed out, you have to upgrade yourself every day. And as World Economic Forum 2022 for the future skills, like future jobs, said that there is a skill instability. So there should be a lifelong learning. As you said, there's no age, yes. It's lifelong learning, and you have to learn every day. You have to upgrade. So now we are just closing with the last question, which I'm just directing to Mr. Madhav Singhania. And this question is from Atul Raj. He asked a question very relevant and very important in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. How to become a successful entrepreneur? Which skill is needed and what kind of skills are needed?
Honestly, isme Professor Suri, again, there is no recipe to being a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, right.
And, I wish there was something like this, but according to me, the basic skill needed is you just need to be passionate about what you do. And if you are passionate about what you do, you will find which skill is needed and make sure that you find a solution around it. Because being an entrepreneur is only about finding solutions to a problem and finding your way around to make sure that you can convert that problem into a business proposition where you can make money out of it. So, so that is my answer there.
And how can you learn faster than others? How can you cope up with like things early than others?
You only learn from mistakes, huh? If
Yes,
you don't, there is always a perception of failure, huh, in our country, and there is the perception of fear of failure. So,
exactly.
So if you can overcome that fear of failure and take the plunge to make sure that you can make it happen, and if you fail, you learn from it, and you make sure you learn from it and evolve and come up with something better. So if you can do that, then that will solve a lot of things.
So you are right. How can you recover fast then these kind of little, I'm not calling it failure. Sometimes you are not really successful in doing something. Yes, Anuragji would like to just add something. So we have to close this just within 1 minute, please.
Right. So I'll just take 30 seconds. So what Madhav said, just to add to that, basically sometimes needs have to be created. All panelists will agree here. So needs have to be created. We don't have to follow the rat race. So suppose सब लोग अगर C++, Java, Python और ये सब सीख रहे हैं, तो you don't have to follow that rat race. और वो question मैंने देखा भी है कि are we following the evils when we are all jumping in IT, right? So very nicely said that. So you have to create needs. जो मैंने umbrella का example दिया वो मैंने deliberately इसलिए दिया. So who would have thought Uber or Ola as a need for the industry which is totally unrelated to transportation? You know, IT coming as a solution for transportation and taxis. Nobody would have thought that need was created for the benefit of the mankind and of course for the benefit of few entrepreneurs as a financial proposition. So don't follow the rat race. मैं कहना चाहूँगा, don't follow the rat race. I can tell you 10 technology trends of the country, but you will fall in all of them if you are just following it and not following through your passion, as all of us have said in this panel discussion. So passion is the key. Degrees doesn't matter, skill matters, and that's why I think Delhi government has come up with DSEU. So that's from my side. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all my panelists, and I would like to welcome the panelists for other session. They have already joined. So just to conclude this is as we just understood, like we have to be together as industry and academia. We should not see them different, like a kind of different whether different part or different sides of two things, like it's a demand or supply. It's not that. Basically, we should consider as one, and industry integration should be more. That's why it is needed to be like to interact more with industry, not for the sake of doing some seminars or webinars. It is more religiously or in terms of more genuinely we should work together. We should exchange our thoughts, and we should also exchange some work also. So faculty should work more with industry should work more in the campus. That would really help in developing such kind of great skilling ecosystem, and this landscape would be really served by the demand and by the supply. I thank all my co-panelists, my panelists, especially Madhav, Anurag, Manish, Ramashankar ji, and all. I think I have covered all the name. I have not missed anyone. So I just would Sachin. So thank you very much, all of you. Really great. I'm so happy. Like we are going to finish it within the time limit, and it was really interesting discussion, and there were many key takeaways. I have already jotted down few points, so we'll come up with a small outcome also. Thank you very much, and now we are just I'm handing over this next session to Dr. Neeta Pradhan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suri. Thank you so much for being here with us. So we already have a few panelists with us. Thank you so much. Can you hear me well? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Thank you so much. So I don't think we will take too much time because most of our panelists are here. And a very, very big thank you for joining us to celebrate the World Youth Skills Day with us today. We know you have a lot of events, programs already lined up, but you've taken the time to join us. So I think we are our sincere gratitude to you. And a big thank you to CII for putting this together. And to Rashi, we have Mr. James Raphael here with us. And thank you, Mr. Raphael. I know you have a lot of things going on there, but you've chosen to be with us as well. Today, while we had a session earlier on defining skilled education, we have chosen to take focus on the retail sector, because that is the sector which is most resilient. And if you look at it post-COVID, data shows that the industry is to grow at 9 to 10%. And that is, I think, incredible. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you think the numbers are larger, you can quote that as well. But I think this, the growth that we are actually envisaging will be possible only if we have industry connect as well as skilled people between industry and academia. So really, this is the theme to say that how do we get, close the skill gap with real-time learning? And to our point, I guess we have all experienced this, that this is only possible when we have industry, academia talking to each other and working with each other. So without taking too much time, I would like to now, call on our speakers. And I must say, this is an illustrious list that I have, and I'm overwhelmed actually. You're all such great experts, and thank you so much once more for being here with us. So our first speaker, I would like to introduce Mr. James Raphael. I'm sure all of you know him, and you wouldn't need an introduction, but for our young audience who's here with us, we have a lot of college students as well as faculty here with us. We have 300 odd plus children and faculty, and a complete class of BBA Retail Management at the Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship here with us. So a thumbs up to all of you is coming across as well. So let me just introduce Mr. James Raphael, for the benefit of our audience. Mr. Raphael has been professionally indulged for 28 years across consumer durables, banking, IT, telecom, dairy, and retail. So he progressively managed national and international profiles. His 10 years in business management, that's Bharati Airtel, Nifty FC, SIFI, Apollo Ties, enriched with 8 years of human resource management, has enabled success since his return to India in 2012 as executive head of Rashi. So besides being part of the Indian delegation to various evolved and evolving nations, he is also the joint apprenticeship advisor at the MSD QI since 2018. And Mr. Raphael is a very valued partner with us. And I must, make this point to all our retail, industry experts here that on a phone call, he agreed to partner with the DSEU, and we are grateful for that. So, can you hear me well? I think there is some kind of speech, a voice distortion. Am I echoing? Is there an echo?
I'm getting a slight voice distortion.
Right.
Not very sure whether it's at my end. If the others can confirm clarity, then probably I'll check it at my end.
Is everybody else able to hear well?
I think it's clear.
Okay, thank you. So then, Mr. Raphael, of course, I really don't have the gumption to ask you a question, but I'd really like to, know your experiences in starting this apprenticeship embedded degree program, which is, I think, a very brave move that you've made for the nation and for the upcoming future talent of the sector. We'd like to hear your experience as to, why you thought of this, and what are really, if I say it's a new program, so what are the problems? I wouldn't like to call them challenges, but then how are you overcoming them? And what is your plan for the future for the program?
Thank you so much, Neeta. I hope I'm audible to everyone, nice and clear. Great. I'll start with first of all, I would like to compliment DSU because you all have been a very progressive partner in this space, and we generally, for the intervention that we launched, with DSU, we generally call it the pilot, promoting innovation lead over tradition, because it's a very unique intervention that brings about a lot of socio-economic goodness. Starting with something which Rasi strongly believes in, let's unclutter and uncomplicate things. So there are a lot of things. So I'll touch upon the theme, looking at catalyze, looking at future skills. If you actually go to see, the solution is a very simple solution, and we call it at Rashi, we call it AIR. Simple. Needed to sustain, AIR. So it is academia, it is industry, and it is Rasi. That's AIR for you. Okay. And if I have to look at it this way, since we're specifically looking at the retail sector, the most successful retailer in the world is that retailer who has a customer for his or her product before it hits the shelf. Likewise, the most successful institute would be that which can provide a guaranteed employment option to every admit before he or she graduates or postgraduates from that institute. With this in the background, we wanted at RASI, since we are doing many things, we said, let's do something very different. Let's do something unconventional. Let's do something with guaranteed outcomes. Because industry is an inherent strength. We said, how do we leverage it, and make, so you have institutes in the nation that churn out, the output which invariably gets into the industry. Why not actually get them integrated at the nascent stages so that a child, when he or she graduates, he or she is not sitting in front of an HR head as a foreigner or an alien. Let's get them integrated while they are getting nurtured. Now what happens is, the intervention that we actually have done with DSEU itself is almost like giving a crystal ball to every admit in the first year of their higher education space, wherein they can see what they are going to become should they successfully complete the course, what they become 3 years from now. When we've done we've done parent counseling sessions, etc. And trust me, there are so many parents who come up and said that, where was this kind of system when we were in the same age group? Actually, if you go to see, all the ingredients were there. Industry was there. Academia was there. Okay. There was just a conduit or a catalyst that actually had to be institutionalized to play that role of integrating both of them so that the outcomes become guaranteed for the child. The reputation of the institute gets enriched and enhanced, and industry gets relevantly curated over 3 years manpower. So what happens is they get completely integrated, and I mean, it's almost like, when I transition from academia to industry, it's like a perfect relay with the baton being passed from one hand to the other without a drop between the cup and lip. So that's what our intent was. So while we go on in this program, I'll speak a lot more about it. I'll let the others also speak because I can hog 1 hour on this topic, actually.
Dr. Neeta, you might have to unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Thank you. So I agree with Mr. Rafael, that, the passion that he has for this subject, and especially the apprenticeship that we built together, I think you passed the baton on to a very valued partner, I'd say. DSU has taken it up in spirit and word. So thank you so much for that. And this is, of course, the gist of the program. And now, I'd like to call upon Mr. Aniruddha Banerjee, who's the CSO of the Spencer's Retail. And I think we've seen how, Spencer's has actually changed the whole ethos of retail, how we do shopping these days is very different. It's organized. And I think you have been the pioneers of it. So thank you so much, Mr. Banerjee, for being here with us. So just to introduce Mr. Banerjee a little for the benefit of our audience once more. So Mr. Banerjee has 23 years of cross-functional experience with in the last 14 years in the areas of retail sale, operation, SCM, execution, category development planning, logistics, sales and promotion, and over 10 years of experience in sales, marketing, channel and distribution management, client servicing and team management during his association with leading FMCG and manufacturing companies. So Mr. Banerjee, I have a very simple question for you. That is, you've been doing a lot of, I'm sure, hiring. You've been doing a lot of planning for your HR, for your people who have to come and work with you. What are the challenges that you see? And, when you saw the challenges, were there any areas that you thought as an industry you could step in and start, the process of finding a solution?
Yeah, good afternoon. Namaste to everyone. So, life has changed, especially after post-COVID. And the education system that we have, the traditional education system, is also going through a sea change. Now, you are talking of the challenges at the time of hiring. I presume you are talking of the fresh talent hiring here, the summer trainees, management trainees, and all those things. So we have one piece post COVID, what has happened, all the industries has see a sea change into the digital world. All the transaction, understanding, data management, analytics went digital. So when we are going to campus and seeing the skill sets of the new batches coming out, I can see there is a scope if we can redefine a few of our courses, which will enable the new talent, the Gen Z, actually become more digital. So when we joined the industry, there used to be a paper where we used to put all the reports and everything was manual. Now it's all app based and your device based. So guys are digital today. This generation is digital in Insta, Twitter and on Facebook, all the social media. But that is not translating into a business digitalization. So if we can cover some portion of that, that will help the industry a lot. Second piece which we figure out, apart from the classroom and the other summer training also, there is a whole lot of MSME which has actually came out because of different government scheme and MSME, Startup India. So there's a big segment which are actually generating employment. However, their problem-solving capabilities are little low as of date. However, they're doing good in business. So if the institute can actually co-work with them and actually create a capsule program for 2-3 months with them, where our students can go and volunteer and participating into their problem-solving effort, it will help both ways. So the new age analytics of our students will help them to solve their business. And for them at a free of cost, they will have analytical mind coming into their business and doing a structured solution, which will help this new generation. So I see a very zero cost win-win approach if we can figure out something like that. And few of more very target market, problem oriented capsulated program rather than a generic learning. Probably the generic learning will be a supply chain module. Obviously, that's important. But within that, the rider's problem, because 50-60% are now a delivery model which is going, be it a food delivery or Amazon, Flipkart, Zomato, whatever you talk. So within that, the rider's problem issue, last mile delivery can be a capsule. Then there can be a specialization within that module itself. So these are few things where we work with the educational institute, we are trying to tell them, and I'm sure they are taking it in a very good spirit, and both industry and institutes are trying to cope up with the new age demand of consumer. It's not an industry demand. Industry is only a bridge between the product and the consumer. So we are part of this Indian growth story, consumption story, and this will help us. So thank you.
Now you said, I think you just put in the key word, that is the bridge. So, on that bridge, we have a lot of passengers. We have a lot of people who are walking across. So I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. Supposing, I'm just posing a scenario here, that if academia was to request, an organization like yours to bridge that gap with, say, more of real-time learning, internships, do you think that's something that's acceptable or will be received well by organizations like yours?
Yeah, absolutely. Already, few of the management institute came to us. They have asked for this detail. So I am sharing my MSME database with them. So we are working as a bridge between the MSME to convince them, because they are little skeptical about sharing their in-house data. So we are actually telling them it will solve your business problem, be it in a fund management, supply chain management, profitability, infrastructure, operation cost management. And at the same time, these guys are, students are also going, and these industries are, as they are doing a part-time job and a half day classroom and a half day on site. So these are the industry in 30-40 kilometers nearby of that institute, to make it little logistically viable for the student also. And we are learning, and this is working out, because these new Gen Z's analytical skills are very high, and their understanding of consumers are very high, because they are now the consumer. And as we all know, below 35 years age is almost 70% of our population. So we need to see the business through their eyes now.
So thank you so much, Mr. Banerjee. We'd like to know a little more about the program. I'll come back to you on that. Since we are talking of analytics, we're talking about, I think, technology. I'd like to call, upon Dr. S.K. Agarwal. We have a very diverse group here. So Dr. S.K. Agarwal is the head of AI Healthcare at Sony Research India Private Limited. And he has a lot of experience in terms of digital product innovation using AI for Asian and global market. And he's a PhD in artificial intelligence from the Delhi Technological University, DTU, formerly known as Delhi College of Engineering. And I'd say that, we are very glad that you're here with us, Mr. Agarwal, because we'd like to know also, because like Mr. Banerjee mentioned, digitization is becoming a very big factor, a part of our lives actually. And even if, we have Ms. Shobha Cecil here with us, Mr. Rafael with us. So everything, even our hiring sometimes is, based digitally. And AI plays a very important role in that. So in terms of, skill building with industry, what are the areas that you see with AI in mind?
Thank you, Dr. Neeta. Special thanks for inviting, and special thanks for your words. But you appreciate it. And I'm very thankful, and welcome to all the speakers. And I think lots of good things. I was listening carefully that people have notified, and it's, I think, very useful for the young youth, Gen Z people, and those who are not into the industry. So it's quite useful. I think lots of topic has been discussed, but thanks from the AI side, I would add, as you requested. So I see AI can be two parts maybe. One could be the bridge, because it's also the agenda of this talk, that how the industry and academia maybe can connect together. So there has been also traditional way where a student used to go to the industry, or industry person visits to the campus, and they deliver the talks or the lectures. But yes, as COVID has made all of us to use the digital devices, internet, and audio video kind of media. So I see from AI point of view, considering AI expertise, so one, can AI be as a bridge between these two parties to make it more effective communication and connection? Because what we have seen, like as it was discussed, like there are certain known industry in the college campus link. So there is something like a very traditional way of linking by having the networking also. So I would also maybe suggest on this platform, so there could be a possibility that using AI so that any student can connect to any industry experts. So that would be a kind of very useful maybe for being, let's say, if I see from the youth point of view now, and let's say today, let's say I want to understand maybe something about bioinformatics using AI, or maybe bioinformatics as a medical student. So who is the right person to approach, or who is the right person to ask the questions, or maybe solve my projects? Let's say I just want to make a project in bioinformatics. So the person should be able to reach the right expert by having the AI digital platform. So this could be form of cloud-based network. This could be a big database network. So I see an opportunity from the AI side. There is a need of such kind of platform by just doing a single click, one expert is away from him. Because world is moving so fast, so even student cannot wait for a 3-4 weeks or a month to maybe connect to the right person, or maybe have a meeting, just get a slot. So because academy also runs with their own sessions, timelines and all. So this is the one thing which I see a very good or maybe useful, because nowadays whenever I just need something, I just simply type on YouTube and just see the video in just a couple of seconds. So same thing, my college students can also get benefit if he decides a particular problem or a project. So that I think it still requires to reduce the gap between these two parties together by having such kind of ecosystem also. And as Dr. Nita asked that, okay, what are the things where AI definitely can be a good part of maybe understanding to the students. So I will also add one more point based on the experience that any idea can come at any point of time, maybe by any point of person, no matter whether it's like a school going or college going or maybe whatever. As was discussed in a previous talk that even the Ola and Uber ideas came from the college graduates or so. So they say same thing that if my college students knows about at least what is AI, so maybe they could come up some fresh ideas, because like we also industry people, sometimes we are loaded with lots of our existing projects or the routine work. So sometimes we don't get space maybe to think it out, or maybe sometimes we don't see the things in a different or a fresh manner. So sometimes the students or the youth people can see those things. So for that, they should know at least what is ABCD of AI. So that is one thing that maybe require them to teach them, maybe to educate them. Okay, what is AI? Let's say, what is AI? Let's say quantum technology, blockchain. These are some emerging concepts which is running into the market, because we never know what youths may say as a cryptocurrency, what type of usage. So I think that is something maybe a correction is required. And it's good to see maybe in India, lots of hackathon activities are running, lots of, I think, seminars among the academy and the industry. But I would also add one more thing over here. Maybe they could be the more two-way interactive activities can also be designed. So maybe I'm not ready about exactly that would be the activity, but overall what I see is maybe the one way is like as an industry that we are expert, we can educate. But second could be the way of listening to the students also, because when I also meet the youth and the people, they ask, okay, hey, why are you doing this in this way? This can be done in something different way or a better way. That's quite good to know, because sometimes we keep on solving the techniques or using the techniques by our own loaded manner or the learned manner. But there should be an opportunity that we industry guy also listen, because as I tell you, let's say when I go to the lecture of any institute, so maybe I'm the person representing Sony side and only one, but there are 300 people in that room. So one brain can maybe compete with the 300 one. So this could be a good way. So I request, or maybe it's a two-way. Maybe hackathon is one of the good activity which is running globally across India also in various states. So I encourage maybe such kind of events in a more bi-directional way is the one thing. And I think such kind of AI platform can also lead such kind of things to make it happen more easily, more quickly, more fastly, in a more intelligent manner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Well, I think completely agree with you. And I can see Mr. Rafael already nodding his head, because, his platform is completely digitized and he's always bringing in new areas of expertise into the sector as well. Now I'd like, I picked up one thing from your, talk right now, Dr. Agarwal, is that anybody can have an idea, and how we execute it is what is important. So we had an idea, and I'd say Rashi and DSEU together approached Reliance Brands, and Ms. Shobha Cecil, who's the GM of HR, was more than happy to take that idea on. And the enthusiasm that I see from Reliance Brands and her is very, very encouraging for, an academic institution like us, and for our students, because the feedback we get is very positive. And I think more and more students, or we'd say the youth, want to get into this program. We haven't really explained the program maybe, but we will do that. Mr. Rafael, maybe I'll leave that to you. But now I'd like to call upon Ms. Shobha Cecil, and may I take the liberty of saying that she's been an ambassador for this apprenticeship, apprenticeship embedded degree program. She's been very forthcoming. And just to introduce her a little, she's a seasoned HR professional with more than 20 years of talent acquisition, HR tech and talent management experience in retail and telecom. And she's currently leading the talent acquisition, recruitment and business HR partnering for the finest toy brand Hamleys in India. That's very interesting. So expertise in working on various HR processes like campus hiring, recruitment, talent management, talent development, succession planning, and so on. So she has in-depth experience in designing, architecting, and implementation and administration of HR software tools as well. So I think she leads by example, because we see the interactions we have with her are very, very encouraging always. So Miss Cecil, I'd just like you to maybe give us a little bit of your experience with the new program that you've started at your organization. What was it that went in your mind when you started this, and how has the journey been so far? It's been nearly a year now, so I'm sure you will let us know all the do's and don'ts as well, and give us some cues on how we can improve and make this program even better for the youth who are joining in. Over to you, Ms. Cecil.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neeta. Always a pleasure interacting. And I would say that this is absolutely something that I've been waiting for years. James knows this very, very well. I think we've had multiple conversations, and I think retail industry requires this more than any other industry. And to tell you why retail needs it is that I was, just going through some figures, and I was amazed to see that retail industry is supposed to be about, I think, $1.7 trillion by around 2025. So in just about 5 years, you can just imagine how exponentially this industry is poised to grow in India. Now, this definitely means that you're going to have more and more players in this industry coming into India, wanting to operate in India, because India is one of the largest markets across the world. And a company like Reliance Brands, or Reliance, our entire family is there, is, as everyone aware on the call, that we are absolutely on a growth spurt, which means mergers, acquisitions, getting the best in this is absolutely something that Reliance is on its journey, and it's a war footing, I would say. Now, what does this all mean? This means that there is a large opportunity in an industry for people to be hired. But what was missing in India till now was the combination or the marriage between practical and theory. And I think that's exactly what the BBA Retail Apprenticeship Program brings. Yesterday, I was just talking to some people, and I was just saying that, can you believe it? I would, at this point of time, maybe have about 300 vacancies across the country only for Hamleys. And I don't have the right supply of these people, which means that this program or programs like this actually is what India needs. And this is what happens in abroad from years. But we are just kind of stepping into that industry. And James remembers this conversation I had with him. So Hamleys worldwide is all about experience and magic. And experience and magic cannot be taught in a classroom. It has to be learned and, I would say, imbibed on the ground. So the brilliant part about this program, which I like, Dr. Neeta, and you know that, is the phenomenal ability that we have now to get the, I would say, the source of talent, to partner with the organization or journey with the organization in a very, very poised and in a very calibrated manner. And what this course actually does is it gives an advantage to both the students as well as the organization. Now, and I'll talk on both the sides. What does it give the student? It gives the student the actual skill that is needed post-COVID. See, COVID has rewritten the rules of work forever in the world. And work can never go back to what it was prior to 2020, which means that you're in a world where you have to be very adaptable. You have to be very agile. You have to be very transformational. There's so many things as HR that I can keep saying that the world is asking you to be. And these things don't come in bookish knowledge. So if you are just studying a course while you are in college, okay, what happens is, and this happened with me also years back, after doing an MBA course, you come out thinking that you are a manager. You've arrived in this world. You're already there. So I would have come out thinking that after an MBA of 2 years, somebody should hire me as a manager. I should become the general manager of a company. But the reality is that's not how you can be, and you will fail if I put you as a manager. Because to become a manager or to become a leader, there are so many skills that you need to build. And those skills or competencies are both functional and behavioral. And what courses like this do is that gives you the practical functional competency over a period of time. So the student, while he learns maybe about business management, he learns about retail management, 3 days on the shop floor actually tells him that it's pure hard work. You know, when we walk into a mall, we are, I mean, as Reliance Brands, we are in the premium and luxury category. We are in the best malls in the world. I mean, malls where you really think you're transported to a different world. But then behind that, what you see as a customer is a lot of hard work on the shop floor. You don't realize this when you just pass a course and come to the, to the particular mall to shop as a customer. But you realize it when you start working. You realize how difficult it is to convince a customer to actually buy a product, you know. And that is the most important thing that this course does. So I don't know, I mean, I have connected once with the students who are working with us. But I'll tell you, 3 years down the line, the finesse that these students will have compared to somebody who has just done a pure theoretical class and come to me will be phenomenally different. So this is the advantage that the student gets, because he gets practical knowledge and he also gets theoretical knowledge. So it's a marriage between the two. And marriages, you know, are rocky, but they're also self-sustaining over the years. Now the second comes the organization. The organization is a superb, I would say, benefit to the organization. As Hamleys, we are proud of this, and I have had a lot of people coming back to me and saying, when can I have more campuses across the country to do this? James, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Anand and people in your team know that I've been reaching out to him saying, can I replicate this model across the country in various cities? And why? Because as a corporate, talent is always in short supply. The right talent, the best talent is always in short supply. So if I get a talent whom I can groom and whom I can mold, because that person is at that age and at that juncture of his life, it's the most brilliant, availability or model for any company. You have here a person who is available to you to work on a flexible model. It's a young person who's willing to learn, who can just be groomed. He's already getting the theoretical knowledge. We just need to fine tune with respect to work and behavior. So I think it's a win-win for both. And I see lots of prospects in it. In fact, of course, later on, I would love to say, what are the things that I think as students we need to take care, and what is it that as corporates we need to take care? Yeah. So thank you so much. I can only thank Rasi and Dr. Neeta and many more people on the call. Because believe me, it is absolutely a boon to a corporate, I would say.
Thank you. I think Mr. Rafael wants to say something.
In fact, thanks so much. In fact, it's been an exciting experience, and you use the passion, consider myself with for this, segment. And I'd like to just one word from the entire conversation, make managers happen. So I still have my team, okay, to consolidate everything happened in and
may I interrupt?
They will be.
Your video is not very clear.
So I just hope you can continue to show my network in the meantime in case.
Should I go ahead, Mr. Rafael? I think he's just trying to correct his audio. So now this is the reason why we say that Reliance Brands, along with Ms. Shobha Cecil, has been our ambassador. And many our students are listening to you today. In fact, they've been very excited. They've left everything aside to listen to the retail sector and their views. So, we have our panelists waiting for us. So may I now introduce Mr. Syed Ali Athar. He's the VP CSR and Skills at V-Mart Retail Limited. And this is another retail. So I think we'll have to mute this. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes, you are. I've just gone on to call on the next speaker. So, Mr. Syed Ali Athar, he's the CSR V-Mart Retail Limited. Is a government business and operations specialist, primarily in the skills, training, and education sector. He has held key strategic business positions and has been responsible for identifying, developing, and establishing new business verticals throughout his career in leading companies like Loris Edutech, Lubsin, and NIS Sparta. So, Mr. Syed, I think, you know, the organization that you are in, and I think the design of the retail sector that is there in it, in spite of so many big players, you have moved into it. So what has been your experience in terms of skill acquisition? You know, for a sector like yours, I know you started with maybe the smaller towns, now you're moving into the bigger towns as well. So I think your strategic decisions have been very well taken. So now that you're moving into the urban areas as well, and we see a V-Mart everywhere we go. So what has been your experience with skill acquisition for maybe, you know, a subsector like yours within the retail sector?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Neeta. I would just, before I start this conversation, I will just take ourselves back a little, you know, at the starting of our own careers, like 20, 25 years before. There was very little technology in terms of communication available. The maximum we could afford was probably a pager or a you know, a big pencil box size mobile phone. So I think all of us remember have one at home, you know, just for the sake of remembering it. But today's generation has everything on the fingertips. All the information is available. Everything is available for them. They can make a lot of informed choices. So I think, you know, today we see a lot of hunger for success that is there in this generation. So when we get people on board, we see that, and it's one of the most prominent trait that we see today. But what I see is lacking today is the perseverance aspect of it, and the perseverance, I think, probably has to be built over time. And I think that will also, because everybody is unique in its own way, like the kind of learning requirements we all have are different. So I think over the period of time, when the person grows into an organization, there's a role of the organization as well as the individual. So now how does academia and the organization come together? In fact, I should thank Dr. S.K. Agarwal. He's given us a very good insight as to how that can happen. It's a very, very, you know, promising prospect. You know, because once that happens, once that linkages happen, I think people who are coming into the industry can make a very, very informed choice. I think that is very important. So once you're getting into, let's say, retail, one should make a very, very clear understanding of what it undertakes. So there may be an opening position, but what is it that where is it that it can take you? So I think that is a very important thing. So the overall career mapping, the overall career path, you know, is to be clear in their mind. And I think that there is the point where, you know, we all have to focus. For us, we have a lot of internal programs. We are doing a lot of skill development. You know, we are doing a lot of CSR activity. But, you know, as we grow along, we have a huge amount of requirement, be it urban, be it rural. We also started operating in rural areas. We are opening up stores at TSE levels. So a lot of requirement as we go along at various levels. But I think the best solution I could feel is that is being developed at this point of time has come out from Dr. S.K. Agarwal, and I'm glad that we can interact, and we would like to learn and understand more about this as we go along. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Syed. Like we say, a collaboration, a partnership, and this is a CI platform as well. So CI is all about connecting people. So now, we have Dr. Agarwal with us, who has very kindly said, I will speak even if it's a retail sector focus. So I think that's what he's shown to us, that everything is possible. And Mr. Syed, I think what you said is very, very true, that perseverance, because ours is a skill university where a lot of students find it a little difficult to understand as to what we are doing. Because I would like Mr. Rafael to actually go, give us the details of our apprenticeship program. But when they come to us, they ask us, what are the pros and cons? So we tell them there are a lot of pros, but if you look at it as a con, the con is that you have to do hard work from day one. Even if you're standing at a store for 6 to 7 hours, you have to do that. That's your litmus test. So I think what you're saying is right. And a lot of students do come to us saying, we thought it was college life. And like Mr. Syed, you very rightly mentioned, we would have never thought, I mean, we never went through this either. Neither was there the opportunity, nor did anybody give us the idea to say, okay, you can start working when you're in college. You can start preparing for a career. So I think that's a message also that we are giving our students every day, that this is an opportunity which no one has got before. So even the advice sometimes from your seniors might not be right, because they've never gone through it. But they sometimes tell them also, oh, you're finding it difficult, okay, just leave it. But they've never gone through it to even advise you. So that's another, coaching that we give them. So with that, Mr. Vashist, you've been very, very patient. I'm thankful to you for that. So now, I'd like to really introduce Mr. Kamal Vashist, who is the head public policy and alliance at Clues Network. And he is professionally, he's a professional from IIM Calcutta and MDU with 18 years of extensive experience in public policy, marketing, and strategy. And he's worked with various top Indian and global brands and working to support the vision of digital India at the last mile. So on to a path of raising the standards of the education and their alignment with the industry, focusing on the skill development mission. So Mr. Vashist, thank you so much for being here with us, and you align with everything that we want to hear. So we'd like to hear your experiences and the new areas that you're working, within your company in terms of skill development and the sector.
First of all, thank you. And I really appreciate the way you are celebrating this day. And in our industry, basically, it is a e-com industry, and we are into SaaS. And digitization is if we see digitization pre-pandemic and after post-pandemic, so it is a continuous change happening, and particularly in every sector. And e-com, when we say e-com, then it is make up with the n number of retailers or sellers, or so basically the extensive increase in the retail industry as well. And right now the skill set which is most needed is related to digital only. So if we are going with the education system or everything, so basically digital is the need of the hour. And as Mr. Agarwal already said, that everything is in this changing world, we have to learn, and there is no shortcut of the learning, because learning curve would take you to the place which you want. In this, basically, as Miss Shobha said, that right talent is always in short supply. So in our organization, which what we used to do, we hire interns, we train them as per our need. And basic skill set, if anybody see the e-com, that is a buying and selling, but it is not just the e-com which we see. There are tech platforms on that. We want some right talent who can do basically the tech skill which can hold that tech platform. Apart from that, marketing, sales, and not just that, into supply chain management. That is the key to the e-com. So right now, Indian government is also focusing on the supply chain management, and next future would be the supply chain. I think 2 days back, I was attending a conference which is with the Western Australia Summit. In that also, some of the panelists was telling that supply chain management was the key in 2020-21. That is why right now India is surviving. If Indian government has not focused on that supply chain management, then probably after this Ukraine war, we would be in a great crunch. So the need of skills is continuously, no, I won't be saying that it is changing, but it is diversifying. So the learning is a continuous process which we have to adapt. And Mr. Agarwal rightly enlightened that industry should come and do the capsule program with the academia, because academia has the right talent. We have to nurture that talent and focus on our need, but it is not just our need, but the skilled manpower can also have a bright future in next life which is coming on. So in our company as well, we are doing several projects in the government, in non-government, and we do are focused on e-com also. So we used to hire interns and skill them. There is a specific program in which we take in every 6-month basis, we do take interns, and definitely we would be in touch with the skilled university as well, because that is specifically for this purpose only. So I really be in touch with you, and definitely my HR will definitely connect with you, and I really appreciate your effort on this specific day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fashish. This is, I think, we must, I always say whenever there is a kind word, I must have, or we all must have done some good somewhere. So there is higher up blessing us. So this is very, very encouraging for us, because being the Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, for us, industry is an equal partner. So, the day industry is in our university, there is excitement. The day we are speaking to industry, there is excitement. Because I think without industry, the skill university doesn't really hold true. And we have embarked on a journey where, our curriculum is designed with industry. And so more so, industry is actually telling us that, internships are needed at this time. So it's all the word of the industry. So thank you so much, Mr. Vashish. I think this is very, very helpful to us. Now, I think Mr. James has dropped off, but we'd like to get something from him as well. So can I move on to a few questions now? Is that okay? So I think this is something that maybe Ms. Cecil would like to answer. So I've got a question here from a student who says, how can the apprenticeship program be more structured for trainees so that learning outcome is more? So this is a question from a student.
Thank you so much for that question. And I also read a comment where somebody also wanted the conversation to be in Hindi. So I'll try and manage both, though I'm not really great in Hindi, but I'll try and do that. So the question about ki structured kaise karna hai. Any program that is there, and especially the BBA Retail Apprenticeship Program, has a very clear structure, which means module wise, semester wise, it is very clear ki aapko kya cheeze padna hai, kya cheeze karna hai. Now, what is important student ke hisab se is that when you are learning something theoretical, तो आप एक मॉड्यूल में एक सेमेस्टर में अगर सीख रहे हैं, how do we do customer service? जब आप शॉप फ्लोर पे है and you are attending एक लाइव कस्टमर को आप अटेंड कर रहे हैं, वो चीज आपके बुक में नहीं रहेगा, बिकॉज कोई भी कस्टमर का सिचुएशन लाइव होता है, कोई भी सर्विस जो वहां पे होगा वो लाइव होगा. So what you should try and do as a student is कि आपको वहां पे आपने जो बुक में सीखा है, you should try and see that if you can practically put that into practice customer के टाइम पे. एंड अगर नहीं हो रहा है या आपकी स्टोर मैनेजर ने आपको सिखाया है कि आपको कस्टमर की तरफ इस तरीके से बात करना है, व्हाट विल बी इम्पोर्टेंट इज टाइम निकाल के whenever possible आप अपनी स्टोर मैनेजर से बात कीजिए, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि सर हमने ऐसे पढ़ा था, पर जब हमने ये कस्टमर को अटेंड किया तो हमने इंस्टेड ऑफ टॉकिंग इन अ पर्टिकुलर मैनर हमने ऐसे इसको हैंडल किया. So what I'm trying to say is whatever you are learning theoretically, see कि वो practically क्या है and actually उसमें क्या difference है या क्या variance है. This is how you should do. Second cheese which I would like to tell every student is आप जितना ज्यादा आपके काम में इंटरेस्ट लेंगे, आप प्रोएक्टिवली एक स्टोर के काम में इंटरेस्ट लेंगे, वो आपके लिए बेनिफिशियल रहेगा. Which means हर सेमेस्टर में आपको कुछ चीजें करने के लिए शायद बोलेंगे. सपोजिंग पहले सेमेस्टर में आपको बताया गया है हैमलीज के परसे से कि आपको जिंगल्स कैसे गाना है या डेमोस कैसे करना है, लेकिन आप अगर इंटरेस्ट लेके देखेंगे कि से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर किसी को एक बड़ा प्रोडक्ट सेल करना है तो हम कैसे सेल करते हैं, उस कस्टमर का रिक्वायरमेंट को हम कैसे समझते हैं, प्रोडक्ट को उसके अकॉर्डिंग कैसे पिच करते हैं, दिस विल बिकम वैल्यूएबल टू यू. तो ये कोर्स में आपको बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आपको लाइव मिल रहा है अपॉर्चुनिटी सीखने के लिए, एंड नेक्स्ट 3 years आपको ये लाइव सीखना चाहिए, which will make you a much better individual जब आप 3 साल बाद ये कोर्स कंप्लीट करेंगे. So I hope I've answered that. If there's any further questions on that, I can answer that. You're on mute, Dr. Neeta.
There's a very interesting question and observation that has come in from, I think this is one of our faculty who says that, during COVID, the impact on retail was very high, and the frontline warriors, their livelihoods were, who are mostly contractual in nature, their livelihoods were affected. So I think a question here is, how sustainable is the future of retail sector? In spite of all the numbers that we hear, but there is always a few sectors which are affected, globally, nationally, by what happens to us. So anybody can take this question. Please feel free.
I would definitely like to add over here. Of course, others, my panelists can answer that. But anyone who thinks that retail industry is not here to stay is actually fooling themselves. E-commerce can come, any digitization can come, or mobile commerce can take its place, or Instagram commerce can take its place. But physical stores will always remain. So COVID has absolutely proven that to you कि physical stores आप नहीं do away कर सकते हैं, whatever you try to do it. A lot of companies, including us, introduced a lot of new ways of selling. Like we did something called curbside selling. We did distance selling. That means telephone से हम stores को दिखाते हैं and we ask people to buy the product. But customer को जो touch and feel chahiye, that is only there in a physical outlet. So retail is definitely going to stay there, is what I can say.
Rightly said by Ms. Shobha that retail will sustain irrespective of e-com or any commerce. It is all the tech platform which takes the offline to online, but stores will be sustaining, because if there is not a physical thing to send or to supply, how come it would be supplied? So the physical stores will always be there, and even if you have seen in the pandemic as well. So our supply chain, or you can say our seller management system, just reach the nearby seller to supply those things. Otherwise, it is quite impossible to give or supply those things to the in cantonment zones or near to cantonment zones, because reaching to the last mile is only dependent upon the retail, and retail will always survive. there might be some diversification, because in this changing world, so digital or any technology would be coming, but without any physical store or physical go down, it is not possible. The ways to think about retail may change, but retail would be sustaining. So that is my learning from this pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. Vashit and Ms. Cecil. I think that's very interesting because, you know, for us, especially ladies, we say it's a therapy. So we have to let it live on, of course. We have another very interesting question, which is from a faculty again, which says, what innovations or best practices are we bringing in the retail sector to reduce the gap between the high attrition rate, which exists among the gig workforce employed in the industry? So anybody would like to take this question, please feel free.
So may I add my 2 cents into it? You know, so what's the core? If you see, you know, as a designer part of it or a structural solution, what is retail? Retail is a product of our consumption story. Indian consumption story is very strong and is going to stay strong. Retail is a bridge between the consumer and the product. So it's going to be there. Now, few variables will come in, few variables will go. The model can change, physical, virtual, omni-channel, whatever we call. Few diversion will come, like the inflation related to this question. You know, few of the margin will be passed on. People will figure out a more efficient way. So more and more cost pressure will come. Efficiency will be the name of the game. And efficiency doesn't mean cost cutting always. Efficiency mean in today's world, find out a better solution to get the product from his manufacturing side to your kitchen, to cut down your value chain cost, which are unnecessary. And related to that, students need to learn and think very differently. What are the legs which are value adding and which are the legs which are not adding value into the whole supply chain? So most of the inflationary pressure as of now, retailers are handling in 2 ways. One, through on passing on some kind of a margin. Second is improving their value chain to absorb the cost into their manufacturing and supply chain setup, so that the balance sheet and the P&L gets maintained.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. So I'd like Mr. Rafael to also maybe answer that. And you know, we haven't really introduced or spoken about the apprenticeship embedded program. So Mr. Rafael, if you could just give us about that as well.
See, the good part about it is a very nice question, very pertinent, and it will be dynamic as we move ahead. So first of all, apologies for exiting and coming back. We had some technical issue. So joined from my mobile. Now, what is retail effectively, if we have to look at it? The good part about retail, it's serving the end consumer. Okay. So wherever there is light, consumption is affected. And wherever consumption is affected, retail has to be there. And hence it's omnipresent. The medium to connect with the consumer may vary with business dynamics, environmental dynamics. Okay. So it will be omni-channel. Okay. So there are many. So it's not about, you know, X model versus Y model. Each one over a period of time, there will be an A to Z model and complementing each other. So that's one part of it. Coming to the skill sets, the question that was there, more in terms of the gig workforce, the dynamics, the skill sets, how do you stay upgraded? In fact, the model between academia, industry, and Rashi is the answer to that. Now, if James was a student, an admit of DSEU today, and James was an apprentice at the same time with the Hamleys or the Spencers or the Viva or the V-Mart, etc., by virtue of the business houses that I mentioned, sustaining in a competitive environment, which means they have currency of processes that are required to sustain viable business. And hence, James, by virtue of his integration and his apprenticeship with one of these business houses, James gets honed on his skill sets with the currency of what the business environment demands. So it will never be a fear of any student to actually say that, am I going through curriculum which is obsolete or not required in the current scenario or the future scenario? Never, because the theoretical part coupled with the practical part, okay, is going to give that cutting edge of currency of what he or she requires. And going back to one part, which Shobha was mentioning about the marriage. In fact, I look at two marriages that happen to the same person. Okay, so one is a marriage that Rasi has already done with DSEU. So this is a stage wherein we play the role of a bridge between academia and industry. Now, my second marriage between the two itself is going to be eliminating that bridge. And I'll be very happy the day when I see industry integrated within the premise of academia. Because just imagine, I mean, look at it, when I started itself, let's uncomplicate or unclutter things. Answers, solutions can be very simple. When we were all kids in school, and let's say we had to go for, physical training as a subject, what used to happen? The bell would ring, ting, 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 ting. All the kids would go down into the Maidan. The bell would again ring after some time. All the kids would go back into the classroom. Our schools never hired a gymkhana. Our schools never hired a stadium. So today, the kids from academia are moving from location A to location B, which is for apprenticeship at the industry premise. Retail is a distributed environment. So they are moving from location A to B. The second marriage that I'm talking about is to get A and B integrated in the same location. See the benefits for the kid. There will be lowest absenteeism. In fact, just imagine during lean hours of retail, which is inherent with our business. Just imagine, visualize a live operating store, let's say within DSEU in Pusa. Okay. The store manager, who's a bhandar, I would say, bhandar of retail knowledge, experience, he can actually just walk up one or two floors and take a guest lecture. What are the kids getting? The kids are getting actual experience within a half an hour conversation, which otherwise probably they would gain it on the shop floor within a year. Just imagine the benefit. So what, if I will just in a nutshell explain about this program, because that's something which we haven't spoken about. What is this program? It has humongous socio-economic benefits. So if I have to talk about the three stakeholders, let me start off with the individual, because we kept the individual in mind first. So the individual actually gets impacted with a stipend from the first month of the first year, whichever stream they are, with a year-on-year escalation as per the Apprenticeship Act. So it increases by 10% in the second year on the base. It increases by 15% in the third year on the base. And what are we doing through this intervention between Rashi and DSEU and the industry that has signed up for this? 3 years of curation, post which he or she is actually going to be absorbed as a supervisor. Now just imagine if this intervention did not exist. Two things. First of all, that kid would never have visibility that after graduation, will I get a job? Obviously, he or she would have to search for a job. So that dilemma is taken away. Now look at it as though we didn't exist. He or she, after graduation in any case, would never have been hired as a supervisor, because he who has not done the job cannot supervise another person to do the job. It's very clear. The journey starts, you can become a CEO, but the journey starts at the shop floor. How fast you reach the CEO stage? There are various testimonials, real life experiences. It's commensurate to your efforts, your contribution to the organization. So the good part is you at least have visibility of assured apprentice stipend based. On successful course completion, guaranteed supervisory outcome. So you're not searching for a job after a period. Okay? So that's taken care of. What are we doing for the institute in this journey? You're enhancing the reputation because it is job oriented. The courses over a period of time, the way I envisage it is that most courses will be outcome oriented and outcome based. Now, when that happens, word of mouth will spread. Parents will feel more confident of taking admission for the awards in institutions like DSEU because they see concrete outcomes. What happens for the institute? Beyond that, you will start the growth story. Because maybe a physical institute will not, you probably will go online. Okay, so there's a path ahead for that. What happens to the industry? The beauty is, 3 years of getting a person curated. Actually, it is almost like, how I would say, a marriage that has happened, लेकिन 3 साल के लिए वो कुंजी DSEU में है, 3 साल बाद वो transition होने वाला है. Okay, it is just about that. So you are a caretaker actually. So DSEU becomes a caretaker during the 3 years, and the industry becomes a caretaker of DSEU's output. And that's the way nurturing will happen. Now, with the student getting a stipend-based apprenticeship from the first month up to the 3rd year, what are we effectively doing for the 4th eye? So I spoke about the first eye, that is the individual. The 2nd eye was the institute. The 3rd eye was industry. And the 4th eye is India. It is going to trigger your GDP also. Because the student who otherwise in the 1st year, 2nd year, and 3rd year would depend on pocket money from their parents actually are earning a stipend. And that stipend which they earn will trigger consumption. If it triggers consumption, over a period of time, if we have DSEU institutes even in remote areas, you will impact the purchasing power in those areas. When you impact the purchasing power in those areas, you will trigger consumption. If consumption gets triggered, transportation, communication, road, network, telecommunication, everything will develop. Effectively, at some stage, all of us will be proud to say that a small, simple intervention reduced the divide between rural and urban India. That's the power of this program. I'll be open for questions. I mean, this journey has been wonderful, and I got to learn from each one, including the students' parents. In fact, their parents, when we have gone for counseling sessions, say that, something previously on a weekend, you would give kids pocket money, 2,000, 2,500, and it would always fall short. Now, the kids, after a month of actually doing apprenticeship, when they get a stipend, they learn financial prudence and appreciate the allowances that they used to get prior to apprenticeship. So something, again, very simple. If you go to see to the 12th standard, we don't have in a curriculum financial prudence. So these are things, when they actually are facing, getting into the real workforce, they are maturing much faster. So in a parlance, I wouldn't be wrong. Now that we are triggering their economic independence at an early stage, which is the first year of their higher education, assuming 60 years was retirement, we are giving them a path to actually retire at 57. Pursue your passion then. So, there's a lot of goodness that actually comes over here, and this is all through synergies. Each stakeholder has their own strength, and it is just collaborative between the stakeholders, that is academia, industry, Rashi, I would say even students, parents. Okay, they are also a very important stakeholder in this. Coming together to create magic. All these ingredients, if you recollect, for the past 30, 40 years existed. But it didn't come together in the manner that it's been designed now. And hence, yes, we play a very important role as a catalyst.
Excellent. This is what our students wanted to hear, and we have a lot of parents also who have joined in. So thank you for that. And on that note, with the 4 eyes, I'd like to thank each and everyone who has joined. And a little proverb that I have learned when I embarked on my journey on skills, and has stayed with me. It says, teach your children things other than what you have learned, and prepare them for times different from this. I think this is exactly what we're doing, especially with your program, giving them the opportunity as well as the confidence, like all of you have spoken, all our experts saying that sector is here to stay, can only get better. So thank you so much, Mr. Sayed. Thank you very much, Mr. Banerjee, and Ms. Cecil, and a big thank you to CII, Ms. Rachna Jindal, head of the state, Mr. Karunesh Rai, who's been with us day in and day out in the last 10 days of this program together, and CII Delhi as well as CII National Office. We thank you very much for allowing us to celebrate the World Youth Skills Day together with everybody. Our industry partners are most valuable. So I have a small announcement from DSEU. So, we are implementing partners for the skills now. Delhi hosts the Delhi skills competitions. So in the month of July and August, DSEU is conducting workshops in alignment with volunteers to promote the platform and churn out the best talents represented in India at France in 2024. Registrations for the workshop will be opened today. So on this day, we also launch the workshop. And stay tuned to our social media handles for more updates. So on this note, I'd like to wish everybody once again a very happy World Youth Skills Day. May the flag of India and making India the skill capital of the world play for us today and always. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Karunesh. Thank you, Mr. Rafael.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
To hear you, but now
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Was it okay, Karunesh? I think we overstepped a little, but I think it was interesting. People were getting engaged. I can't. You're on mute.
Yeah. So, ma'am, I was just thinking only that it will not end before 1:30. So we have closed it on time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and please thank Rachna. Yeah, already busy.
Yeah, sure.
I think take a little outcome of this and discuss with you again.
Absolutely.
Further from here now.
Sure.
Or
No, actually, she was there, so she got some meeting. Yeah.
Thank you, Karatesh, for all your help. You know, the social media poster, we have to do it again. There were a few, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll just and maybe share it with you.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.